Welcome to the Rare Pod, where we dive into the journeys of bold, creative, and ambitious individuals like yourself who are redefining success. We're your hosts. I'm Reem. And I'm Rania. And in each episode, we bring you insightful conversations with entrepreneurs, innovators, and change makers who have taken risks, challenged the norm, and turned their ideas into impact. From the highs of viral success to the struggles behind the scene, our guests share their real and unfiltered experiences to inspire the next generation of leaders, creators, and entrepreneurs. So if you've ever wondered what it takes to take the leap and build something meaningful, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Welcome to the Rare Pod, Miki. How are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you guys?
We're doing great, and we're so happy to have you here today. Yes, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We're so excited to talk to you about your journey as a young entrepreneur from social media and innovation and how you're able to balance it all. We actually came across through your work with the USC Iovine and Young Academy, and when we saw your profile, we were immediately inspired by how you've built multiple ventures, you've grown social media accounts to tens of millions of views, and how you turned your ideas into action, really bringing them to reality. So let's get into it. To start off, would you mind telling everyone about yourself and your background?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Mickey, and I'm from Seattle. I'm 18 years old. I'm a freshman at USC in the Iovine Young Academy. So for the viewers, Iovine Young Academy is basically like an arts, technology, and a business of innovation major. So it kind of fuses all of those elements together, and basically it's very startup and entrepreneurial focused. But yeah, really great community of creatives, builders, founders. And yeah, currently working on a few ventures. In the past, I've started like a college consulting company, college guidance company, but that's seasonal, so I haven't been working on that as much. Also, I've done a lot of social media stuff in the past, a lot of social media marketing, growth, and also have a medical billing startup helping people detect errors in their medical bills, and also running a founder house, which is an all-female hacker house in SF this summer.
That's awesome. Do you mind telling us a little bit more about FoundHer House and the vision behind creating that all-female hacker house and what challenges you have just faced in building this community and how do you see it empowering women in tech and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so Founder House is an all-female hacker house, and a hacker house is basically a place where a bunch of founders get together and live together, and they work on their own startups, or they might be very involved in like the startup space and working on their own projects or at an internship at a company. But basically, it's just a place where a bunch of people can live together, a lot of like-minded people who just really love like the startup ecosystem. And we're creating an all-female hacker house, and we're actually like the second all-female hacker house ever. And so it'll be based in SF since that's kind of like the startup capital of the US. And yeah, basically trying to get about 8 to 12 girls together, living in the house, working on their own projects. And kind of what that would look like is we're going to be hosting a lot of fun events too, like networking events, founder dinners, just really building that community. And then at the end of the summer, we'll also be hosting like a end of summer demo day where we can pitch to VCs and investors.
Wow, that's such a cool idea. I'm excited to see how it goes. Would you mind telling us what first sparked your interest in entrepreneurship and kind of what led you to start Founder House and the process of doing that?
Yeah, so I guess with my background in entrepreneurship, I've always been very entrepreneurial. Ever since I was really young, I was always thinking about how to turn things into businesses. I mean, I like was running lemonade stands when I was super young. But then when I was 13, I actually started my first business, I guess. It was basically a influencer sponsorship like agency. So what I would do is I literally created an email that was like Mickey sponsorship at gmail.com or something like that. And I would reach out to a lot of influencers and then I'd reach out to a lot of companies and tell the influencers, I was like, oh, all these companies here would love to work with you. Like, would you be interested? And I'll take a cut of your earnings. And then I tell the companies like, oh, I have all these influencers who are interested in like working with you guys, and I can help you guys settle the payment and settle all the deals. And I was literally like 12 or 13, like talking to these companies and
Mhm.
acting super professional, sending out these very professional emails, and they didn't know there was like literally a 12-year-old on the other side. But that was actually like decently successful. I got to work with some fairly like big influencers. Like one of them was an influencer of like 200K on Instagram, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I would literally just take like a small cut, like 20% of whatever the deal was, and I would organize that. And also so many other side hustles. I used to do like Twitch streaming. That was like a little side hustle of mine. I would do like freelance work. I would like edit people's videos or like make graphics. I also, a little bit later on, maybe when I was like 14, I had a Minecraft business and that actually did like surprisingly well. We made like maybe like $800 or something in just a few months. And as a 14-year-old, like that's it's not bad. So yeah, like very entrepreneurial. And then all those kind of ventures landed into me in like junior year, really wanting to create like a serious business. I really wanted to, not do all these like side hustles, but actually like, create something. So at this point, I wasn't very into startup yet, but I just wanted to create a business. And I was like brainstorming a lot. But then in my senior year, I got accepted to USC, and my best friend got accepted to Harvard. And I realized that like so many people around me were like freaking out about college applications. I had like juniors asking me like, "Oh, what were your stats? Like, how'd you get in?" And I personally did a little bit of like tutoring as well at this like tutoring company. So I realized like, wow, they're charging so much money. There's a big demand, and definitely like I could supply like something for that demand, right? And so my co-founder and I, who went to Harvard, we both decided to like let's just take a advantage of this opportunity and create a business.
Wow, that's so great. You've worked on so many different businesses and ideas, and I really like how you just went after that drive, and that's really what sparked to see where you are today. So, working on these businesses and social media growth, what do you think was the key to helping you grow your social media accounts, and how did you decide which ideas that you had in entrepreneurship to pursue and which to let go of?
Yeah, so I could talk a little bit about the social media growth. So I guess there were like two main accounts that I was running. Um, Both of them together have about like 50 million in combined reach. And so basically what I was doing for the first account was for my robotics team in high school, they needed like a social media manager. So I, took that role and basically would just post a lot of like funny, relatable, like robotics related videos. And so those went pretty viral. Like one of them had like 20 million views, which was really crazy. And honestly, the biggest takeaway from that was like consistency. I was like posting like many times a week, filming so many different videos, following all of the trends. And yeah, so I was growing that account. And then when I started Ivy Hacks, my college consulting company, I decided that, I've taken all these skills from social media and I kind of wanted to start a new venture. So I decided, I have the skills. I know how to grow a social media account, so I could use that as a like a funnel to get customers for Ivy Hacks.
Wow, that's great. So throughout this whole process, I think like we've learned and how you must have learned that failure is such a big part of entrepreneurship. And can you share a time when things didn't exactly go as planned and how you really turned that into another opportunity?
Yeah, so with Ivy Hacks, I guess one example of like failure was at the very beginning, we kind of were very optimistic, which isn't like a bad thing, but definitely very optimistic. We were like, okay, we're just gonna make a new account, we're gonna get super viral, we're gonna get like so many customers, we're gonna like I don't know how we're gonna handle all these customers, like they're all gonna be like flooding in, we're gonna need to like scale. I was like worried about all of the wrong things and not really about just putting in that effort and like getting it to grow first before like worrying about all that. So I guess that was a bit of a failure because we didn't even get our first customers until a little bit later since we launched in like about a year ago. So about this time, which isn't really peak college season, it's actually like the end of all of the college applications and stuff. So nobody was really looking for like college application advice at this point, and that's more like in the fall. So we kind of that was like a bit of a failure. We realized like, oh, we need to like slow down. We need to start like growing the community first on social media before we worry about like, oh, we need to like deal with all these customers since we didn't have any.
I think it's definitely so important to have that plan and also be able to adapt and pivot the pathway to success. I know that success is subjective and it can be measured in different ways, but how do you personally measure and define success?
Yeah, so for success for me, it's kind of changed throughout the years. I would say like initially I was very like money minded, revenue minded. I was as like with all these side hustles and everything, I was always worried about like, oh, I need to make money on this. But Honestly, ever since coming to IYA, I've been kind of thinking like about how my perspective has been changing. So a lot of the people around me, they're very into startup. They have a lot of great startup experience, and I've started to think of success more as in like impact and like social impact. So I feel like startups are honestly like the best way if you really want to impact and like change the world and like build products that solve people's problems. Startups are a great way to do that. And it's not always about like the initial money. It's more about the like the long-term vision. And like, yeah, you can probably create a business that will make you some initial like money, but if you really want to make a big difference, it's honestly like the impact that really matters, and that's what really like defines success for me.
I think impact definitely is such a key part of it. And when you're trying to deal with impact, there's definitely a lot of decisions that you have to make. How do you approach decision making when facing uncertainty in your businesses?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, one strategy that I like to do is to like kind of stop and evaluate each step of the way. So, I mean, I really like to set up like a plan. That's like very important. A business plan is pretty great. I did that for my college counseling business. I set up a whole like actual like document with a business plan. That isn't something that really that people in startup really do, but definitely for business, that's more of like definitely a thing that you should be doing. And honestly, just yeah, like evaluating all of your strategies, like growth strategies, marketing strategies, like are they working? Do I need to pivot? Sometimes people get into this kind of like cycle of not pivoting. They just keep doing like the same things that don't work. I mean, this also happens in social media as well. Like people will be posting like the same exact type of video over and over and not seeing any like success with it. So it's really important to like kind of know when to pivot, when to stop, and like and be flexible, I guess, with your ideas.
Yes, I completely agree. That's so true. It's important to really take that step back and assess the situation and see maybe how other people have found that success and really, knowing when to pivot. So, as a college student, how did you find balance between your school, your entrepreneurial ventures, and just your personal life as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly super thankful for IYA, and since it's just it's very startup focused, and that's exactly like aligning with my interests. So, it's been really nice since like this semester there's a class that was like all about marketing for startups. And so I was able to actually bring in my own startup with the medical billing startup and just bring that into class and actually have a team of people to help me with that. And so we've been basically like brainstorming like marketing strategies, and it's not like it's like class and work are like kind of separate. It's almost like we're bringing work into class so I can actually like work on my startup and do things that I really enjoy while still being in class. And I just really like how it's very flexible. They want you to also have time outside of school to like be working on your own projects. So they don't give us like that much homework. It's like pretty reasonable for college. And I mean, I know a lot of like my CS major friends who are like complaining about how much homework they have since they really love startup, they really love like building products. But then the kind of classes that they have to take are not really reflecting their interests. It's a lot of like theory, a lot of like CS work that isn't really related to like actually building. So very thankful for IYA. And then also like the USC culture. I think we're very like work hard, play hard. So like it hasn't been too hard to like balance like social as well, since like there's opportunities for that as well.
That's really great to hear and see how you're able to find that balance, especially in that environment. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs who want to take the leap but are too scared to start?
Yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship is definitely a very daunting thing, especially being young. I was in the planning stage a lot when I was in high school for like this college guidance business, and but something that I've learned since coming to USC, I was part of an entrepreneurship club called SEP, and basically they kind of take you through like 0 to 1 how to create a startup, and it's basically like a startup incubator and accelerator. So through that, I had a lot of great advice given to me. One thing that we did was like a 2 week sprint. So that's like a thing that I would recommend to like any entrepreneur who might be interested. If you have an idea, but you're like a little bit nervous about like committing to this, since I mean entrepreneurship and startup requires a lot of commitment. So I would recommend you start with something like small, like a 2 week sprint. And just if you have an idea, just work on it for 2 weeks. Try to create like a MVP, minimum viable product, and see if like your idea can be validated. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, you guys can like evaluate if like this idea is worth pursuing or not. And yeah, I feel like it's a really easy way to like get involved into startup without actually like completely committing to it right at the beginning.
Yeah, and consistency is so important with that. I think sometimes that we have all these ideas, but really don't take that step to the execution and really taking that leap. Do you mind touching a little bit more about your medical bills project?
Yeah, so I'm working on a medical billing startup. It's called MediChecker, and basically we've been working on it for about a semester and a half. And I started it in this like entrepreneurship program at USC, and working with a few people on the team. I have like a dev, or two devs, and then a designer. So we've been working on that. I've been taking more of like a PM kind of role, leading the team and stuff, and also the marketing growth sides as well. But basically, what we do is solve the problem of medical billing errors. So this is a pretty big statistic, but 80% of all medical bills contain errors. So that's usually pretty shocking to people, since a lot of people don't really even look at their medical bills, they just go ahead and pay it right away without even thinking about it. But actually, the medical billing system is super outdated. There's a lot of inconsistencies. A lot of databases aren't updated. So hospitals are charging you like these crazy prices. Um, the regulations aren't great. So just a lot of issues in this whole space. And we're basically tackling the problem of medical bill transparency. What we do is we have a software product where anybody can go on our website, upload their bill, and then we'll basically analyze the bill for any errors, overcharges, duplicate charges, things like that. And we basically provide an analysis for them, telling you exactly how much you've been overcharged.
Wow, that's such a great idea and such a helpful and useful tool. How were you able to stay ahead in industries that are constantly evolving like tech and social media, or even applying that business or different ideas to stay with the times?
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing for me has been surrounding myself with people who are like very motivated, very ambitious. Again, with IYA, like it's a great community there. I feel like there's not a day that goes by where we don't talk about AI. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Perplexity, but it's an LLM, and it's a startup that's gone very big in the past year. And right at the beginning of USC, when I started, everybody was talking about Perplexity. But then I would like go and text my friends from home or like text my friends from like other schools and stuff, and nobody knew what it was. And then like a year later, it's now huge and everybody is like talking about it. So I feel like it's really nice to catch these things early. And so like I felt like I was so ahead of the curve. I knew about like all these AI models that dropped, and I feel like it's really great that like all the people around me are always talking about like the newest thing, since I can stay up to date on it, and it's also like fun to talk about it. And another thing is like the professors, they're very good at like dropping in like into the lectures like, oh guys, by the way, DeepSeek just launched. There's its new AI model. It's competing with like ChatGPT and Claude, and like it's just great that like everybody is always like pushing to stay up to date on innovations or anything like that.
That's amazing. I think that it's so important to have that environment with like-minded people and to see how you're kind of doing that too with your founder house and cultivating that environment. How have you used AI and technology, and how have you applied that to your ventures?
Yeah, so pretty much use AI every single day. I use ChatGPT like all the time, and also I think it's great that the IYA like they really promote the use of AI. Actually, it's something that a lot of schools don't do, a lot of classes don't do, but they actually encourage it because I mean they're very like with the times. Like they want you to be able to like have literacy with these tools. So I think that's super great. So yeah, I use AI all the time. I think it's important to know like when to use it, when not to use it. Like if you really need to learn a topic, like you shouldn't just be letting AI like do all the work for you. But I think like it's a great tool for to like supplement some certain things and like to help you with your learning. So I use it for like school and stuff like that. But then also with my medical billing startup, we use AI. So we use a mix of Claude and Perplexity, which are two language learning models, and basically they help us like analyze the medical bill and check for errors. So I think like that's super great as well. Been a big like wave of like AI startups. So I think like I mean now's like the time to basically like look out for AI because there's gonna be a lot of change in the next few years.
That's amazing. And I love how that you're using AI to make an impact on your community and using it for that social impact and entrepreneurship aspect. Could you talk a little bit about the moment where you realized one of your ventures was truly working and you saw that impact?
Yeah, I could talk about a few examples. One of the examples to go back a little bit would be the Ivy Hacks college guidance counseling. So I guess like when that first like check kind of came in, like that was when I was like, oh, okay, wow, like this could be like a real thing. Since we charge $80 per hour for college guidance session, and so I mean, like $80 for an hour, like that's kind of a lot, right? So being in high school, I was like, okay, that's pretty nice. So yeah, just seeing that company grow, it's been really great. Every time we get a booking, like it's honestly really exciting. And yeah, I feel like we're able to provide a lot of value. It's currently like the team is currently like me, and then my co-founder goes to Harvard, and then we actually brought in another guy who's an incoming class at Harvard this year. So we have like a really great team of people who are like helping with the counseling. So yeah, that's been pretty great. And then another example would be with a medical billing startup. I feel like just like talking to customers, that's been really great. We actually went to the hospital and we stood outside the door there, and we do a lot of things that are like very much like doing instead of like staying back and like researching. Like we do a lot, we just kind of like take the risk and just do things, you know? And like so we went to this hospital and we had our like little notepads and stuff, and then we were just basically talking to every single person who was entering the hospital. We were like, "Hey, do you have a medical bill?" Or like, "Are you visiting somebody who has a medical bill?" And we would like just like approach them and like ask them about their experience with medical bills, ask them about like what they're here for and things like that. And then we'd also end up getting all of their emails to add to our wait list. And yeah, I feel like things like that, you can really see like your impact like in person. And so yeah, I feel like that was really great.
That's amazing. And in these moments of success, how have you been able to use strategies that allow you to use creativity and also push through challenges that you have faced and coming to these high points of success?
So like successful, how do I apply like creativity to like the success?
Yeah, and being able to like overcome any hurdles that you faced on the way and that journey to getting to that point of success.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say I'm like very much an optimist. I feel like that's something that you kind of have to do if you're into startup, into business. I mean, there's like the stat that like 99% of startups fail. So you kind of just have to like get used to failing, get used to just keep getting up and trying new things. I mean, with all of my like past like business ventures, like most of them have failed. I did like a like random like Fortnite like graphic design business like that failed, made like 20 bucks on that, and I spent so much time like learning how to use Photoshop, learning how to use like Adobe. But I think the kind of lesson that comes from that is like it's totally okay to fail. It happens. Like you probably will fail. Like that's just kind of like 99% of people fail with their startups. So like you probably will fail. But there's always like something that you can learn from them. There's always something that you can take from that lesson. I mean, like that Fortnite example, like basically I was able to not make any money, but I left that business with a bunch of skills in like Photoshop, Adobe, and just like graphic design in general. And so I think that's super great. Like there's always like a lesson that you can take from any of your failures and turn them into like a success.
Yeah, that's so true. It's really amazing to see how looking back, failure is such a key step to our success, when in the moment it can feel very discouraging and like a huge setback. We actually attended the IYA interview weekend, and I think it was Professor Delgatti who said he had a license plate that said fail often and fail first. And that really stuck with me because I think that's really those key moments in our journeys. So, going on another note, if you could go back into that journey, do you have any regrets and would you change anything?
Yeah, I feel like honestly a lot of it is pretty much what you said. Like failing. It's a like I was very nervous about failing, very nervous about starting, and I feel like there was a lot of time like during my junior year where I was just like brainstorming ideas, but I didn't actually like get to them. So I feel like that would have been super great if I just like let go of any like fears and just like took the risk and just started building. And like if I could go back like a few years, I would just tell myself like it's okay, just like you can fail, like just work on your projects. And yeah,
Yeah, you'll never know if you don't try. Thank you so much for all your advice. It was so inspiring to hear from your experience and being able to learn about how you were able to take risks and actually learn and do stuff by making an actual impact. Yeah, it was so great talking to you, and I'm really excited to see where all your adventures go. And it's so great to see all of the amazing work you're doing.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. This is a great podcast episode.